Hey everybody, how you guys doing? This is going to be a short episode, and it's a realization I've had for a couple of days, weeks, months, whatever. I'm not exactly sure. Well, not months. Definitely a couple weeks. And it's an apology. It's an apology to... Actually, it's an apology to a few people, but primarily it's an apology to Chris DeRose. I want to say I'm sorry because I attributed a lot of bullshit to you, whereas... maybe I misunderstood exactly what you were getting at, and so I want to discuss that, and what particularly it's in relation to the pumping of Archetype, and whether or not he was actively pumping Archetype, and maybe I misunderstood what was going on. Maybe there was part of a joke there, and what I expected from him and what he did kind of, they didn't match up, but maybe he wasn't as bad as a person as I maybe made him out to be. And I do feel bad because once again, and even in the episode, I mean, I really did acknowledge that I really appreciate Chris's content. Like, I think he's a fantastic content creator, and I think that his new content is widely underrated. Like, it definitely shows more of his creative side, and it is content that I like. Whether or not it should be like Patreon or whatever, that got into a whole separate argument too. It also came off kind of wrong, but like he was talking about how he wants to release his content on Patreon, and then maybe some of it gets released on YouTube, and then he was talking about value and stuff like that. So I was using his language, but I do think that his work in general is valuable, has value to people. Whether it's valuable to me through Patreon is a separate argument, and I was really just trying to use his own language. I didn't want to make it seem like his fucking ideas are not valuable, have no value. He's obviously probably one of the smartest people in blockchain, as little as he would like to admit that. So I mean, I don't want to take that away from him, and nor did I mean to do that. But as far as Archetype goes, did he have a responsibility to explain at least the concerns of Archetype? I would say yes, and that's what I was worried about the audience. But maybe those concerns are just my own, that's part of my own personal morality. It doesn't apply to anyone else. Like, my thing is that, like, I enjoy when people are kind of putting things in perspective and say, hey, look, this is kind of a stupid project. It's kind of cool. I guess it's an interesting utilization of the blockchain, but, like, I don't really see the purpose in this. But then I guess his argument was that the purpose is just artistic principle. Do you find this artistically valuable, or do you find it interesting? Is this artistically interesting to you? If you find it interesting, it might have value to you, and if it has value to you, then maybe you want to purchase one. I think the problem is, to me, is when you like adopt the idea of a meme economy, and like I mean, he was making suggestions too about how to further develop Archetype. And one of the ways he was doing that was actually contacting Reddit groups, and then like working with them on how their memes are developed and upvoted, which is, I mean, that's clear. Like, memes on Reddit are kind of, it gets upvoted by whoever reads Reddit. Whether or not there's bots involved, that's a different thing. But like, I don't know how much you really need to contact the meme economy Reddit's like committee board, whatever the hell you want to call it. Whereas like, Archetype is trying to take this stance of understanding humor on a different level. I think that's what really bothers me. It's not really so much the Archetype aspect. Really, and the whole meme and joke and humor aspect of this blockchain stuff. Like, the joke is like putting the stuff on the blockchain. Taking it seriously is part of the joke too. But like, I don't know if that's what these people are doing. And I don't know if that's a concern that I really even need to have. Because, I mean, this doesn't, like, Archetype, Rare Pepe, none of this stuff concerns me. The only thing that concerns me is that I could have got in early and I didn't make money on it. And that's how I interpret Rare Pepe and all this stuff. And that's, I feel like, most people interpret it. It's not that these are artistically intriguing projects. It's that you could have made money on them at some point. And that's the, I guess we're getting back to like this whole fad thing. It's like, the only reason why any of these projects are interesting is because, like, it's specifically Bitcoin, like, people printed money out of thin air. Like most people, I would say like the overwhelming majority, I don't have statistics on this, but I would say the overwhelming majority of people who are interested in Bitcoin are interested in it because it's a get rich scheme. They don't care about the fucking technology behind it. They don't care about proof of work or proof of stake or whatever the fuck you want to like deal with, or having committees that are verifying assets on a blockchain. Like that isn't really important. The only important part is that it can go up in value. And if it did, I missed out because I didn't support it earlier. And that to me is very much a Ponzi. Now, whether or not it's Chris's duty to make that a public discussion, considering the current environment of blockchain, I don't know. I feel like, and he said this on the show, which I kind of gave him credit for, and I'm not going to say like I didn't acknowledge this. Like, he's basically just saying like it checks off all the boxes. It is in fact a proper use of a blockchain. It's not doing anything particularly illegal or trying to scam people out of money necessarily. But they're convincing people that the value is in their Archetype token. And that is a hard sell. Like, why is Archetype valuable? Because we believe it's valuable. Because we believe we need a method to put memes on the blockchain, and we think that Archetype is the best version of that, and that's why we're all going to support this now. I don't mind separating myself from that type of perspective. I think it's interesting, particularly because it's a get-rich scheme, and if I bought in early, I would have made money. Also, I would have had to sell, and then to the greater fool, essentially. Someone else would have had got my fucking stupid Pepe, and maybe they could sell it for more. That's not really my concern. I mean, the whole point is that they just define someone stupider than they are. And like, but like, does that make them stupid because they didn't get in early, or because it's not stupid because they sold at the right time? I don't know. I just like, this stuff doesn't seem like it's really, like, it's not greatly important. But I mean, it's like either were Pogs, but like that was something that was like interesting, and Pogs are tradable. So if you invested in Pogs early, like, or whatever, magic cards, whatever, you might have a little tiny fortune right now. But I don't know if the secondary or the primary use case outweighs that secondary use case, whereas just having art on the blockchain is meaningful. I don't think it's as meaningful until you add the aspect of wealth and value and economics and money and holding on to that value until it can increase in value, much like property or any type of investment you make. So like saying these aren't digital instruments or not tools for investment, to me is like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if you can really, I'm still not 100% convinced that you can distinct yourself as something completely separate from like a payment system when you're using blockchain technology. I'm not 100% convinced on that. I still think that's going to be debatable. I mean, we're finding out more and more that it's debatable. Obviously, like Jason Seibert, or I think I've been saying Seibert, but it's Seibert. Jason Seibert's been like, he basically explained it very clearly. Like, look at you. If you're not saying that this asset is used for a financial purpose, essentially, it's not used for a financial purpose. So it's whatever you say it is. Like, if this, I can call it, it's, you can exchange it like money, but it's not money because it's not. I'm not saying it's money. So I mean, that seems to be like where the debate lies. Like, what is the difference between any of these bitcoins or augmenters or any of these rare art certified blockchain technologies? How is that different from an ICO or any type of Ethereum token project? Like, how are they really any different? I'm not really sure. But I do want to just basically get this out of the way. Like, I'm starting to very much acknowledge that this is just part of how cryptocurrency is developing. And maybe it's not right for me to have an adamant position against these types of projects or even say that they're stupid. Like, I don't have that like, there's nothing particularly interesting about me that I'm allowed to make that assessment. Because if, like, it checks off all the boxes, like, who am I supposed to really argue with? And I think that's kind of the position that Chris was taking. It's like I can't fight with this shit anymore. I really can't deal with trying to make this distinction. You're saying this is correct. Apparently, from everything I've heard, what you're saying is true. My opinion on the thing doesn't really even matter. And therefore, like, let's just take you as a serious project. There's not many things that I can really even consider serious. And because you're kind of putting yourself in this weird paradigm of blockchain technology, it actually is a serious project. You're not saying you're a payment system. You're not saying you're some random ICO token that's like involved in some other type of trading of something that has to do with value. You're just saying you're art on the blockchain, and all you are is a committee that validates that, and you're using an Ethereum token. Maybe that's enough. And so coming to terms of that might put you in a very non-combative mood. And so me expecting that from Chris may have been not fair or unfair. And then I still I don't want to say he's not pumping Archetype. Just like I don't want to say I'm not pumping Bitcoins. Like, I'm going to shit on all these stupid projects all day, but at the same time, like, until Bitcoin's kind of like has an issue, I'm going to be like, and at that point be like, I told you fuckers. I told you. Until that point happens, which it may never happen. And hopefully it doesn't, because I'm not looking for people to get like hurt or have to go to jail or anything like that. But like, until there's an issue, then like they're correct. And I just, I should just be part of the community. Just accept it. Like, there's no point in getting emotional about these things. It's literally, everything's just kind of matter of fact. Like, is it or isn't it? Like, if it is, then that's okay. If it's not, well, then that's okay too. But like, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to like take sides. It doesn't have to be some like tribal thing. It's not religious. It's just all this is very mathematical, in fact. Like, everything is very statistically provable. Everything is it's all numbers, right? It's like we can say, I mean, if we had every input, which we don't, I mean, that's kind of the part of blockchain, but if we had every input, we'd be able to determine exactly where all this money was going, whether or not it's separate individuals, or if it's actually just one person buying all of them on different accounts or different wallets, whatever. Like, there's no real way to attribute where this value is going. But as far as we know, there is a supply, there is a demand, and there is a market, and we just have to accept that. And whether or not it's illegal is up to the courts. But as so far, there is nothing illegal about it. So this is technically a blockchain project, and all I'm supposed to do is essentially, give you good advice. Well, who do I think you should talk to? Well, go talk to the meme economy Reddit, and then ask them what they think about, what makes a good meme. I don't fucking know. Like, that's where that part gets me, like, I don't know. That hurts me. Like, it makes me feel like it goes against what it actually is funny. But then maybe, like, if people really don't like the way Archetype is conducting memes, or maybe memes don't even have to be funny too. I don't know. I feel like they're definitely a humorous thing, but maybe it doesn't have to be. I don't think I've ever like gone through the internet and like, oh, I really want to see a bunch of sad memes. I guess there are sad memes, like depressing memes. That's what I want. That's what I want on the blockchain. I want depression memes. Oh man. I forgot what I was saying. There's a couple other points I want to get to. I really should have wrote this out beforehand too, but because I did attribute a lot to Chris, and I don't think he actually listened to the episode, nor would he have wanted to. I think he just read my synopsis of what was going on and got the tone of the argument. But really, I feel like the voice argument, or what I said on the actual podcast itself, as opposed to what I typed out, kind of. They said the same thing, but one kind of like prefaced the other. Like, you kind of needed both parts if you wanted to really get the whole thing, or just listen to the podcast, not read the thing. But I don't think he got that far, nor should he. I mean, there's no real reason why he needs to listen to my content, or anyone, or any of you, or any of you fucking idiots. I'm just kidding. I really appreciate everybody who listens to this podcast, and all the feedback I get. It means a lot. It means much more than you guys know. Even like if it's the one simple hi or conversation, I really like. Telling me you like any show, any of the content I did, like it really means a lot to me. I'm not begging for compliments, by the way. You don't need to like start spamming me with shit. But if you do, I don't mind it. I'm just saying. Let's see. Okay, so I don't hate Chris. Two, I guess at this point, it's very hypocritical for me to criticize his position on like digital rare art, blockchain, archetype-like projects. So making an entire episode about that, which actually prefaced another 2 or 3 or 4 episodes possibly, and a lot of my current discussion and what I do talk about on this podcast, but like all of that, and which I guess it was just a learning process for me, so that was beneficial, but all that maybe was unnecessary. I still think I learned a lot too. Like that made me explore more into Bitcoins. I was also very kind of like reluctant. Like Dan or Dante was like trying to like get me to promote Bitcoins while I was talking to Jason and Theo, but like I didn't really. I had spoken to Dan amongst other people at the meetup, and there was some simple ideas thrown around just for jokes. And like one of the big things I think is important in any of these blockchain technologies, if you really want to take any of these projects serious, is anonymity. And so I don't know if you remember that or not, but like it was always the first thing I recommend is like don't put your name on any project. Like it's better not to have a fucking you don't want a single point. Like it's okay if people know who you are, but you don't necessarily want that. In my opinion, I don't think you want. I really don't like. It's not necessary. Like that's the magic of all this shit. Like if I had my own blockchain ICO, you would never fucking know it was mine. You might be able to find out because my operation security sucks or something like that. But like, the idea was that I wouldn't put my information out there. It wouldn't be attributed to me because there's no. It's not necessary. We're not making giant corporations, and we're not trying to get fucking people to invest money with the stock market. Like we're just trying to create projects. And like, there's very easy ways to limit the amount of information that is tied to you, especially when you're just putting stuff out on the internet. Like, there's also easy ways for it to get found out, or easy ways for you to fuck up if that's not really your concern. But I'm just saying that like, I think anonymity is probably a stronger thing to attribute to these projects than not, because of these weird legal gray areas and whether or not there's going to be an uproar. Do you really want to even be the focal point for projects? But I mean, if that's a responsibility you want, that's fine. I'm not trying to take that away from you. It was just that was my precaution, also something that we had discussed. I don't know if Dan remembers that, but that was why it was very like skeptical to even say that he was even part of the project. I just, in general, my recommendation to anybody doing any of this stuff, and I don't have any projects in my name, I'm just saying anybody doing any of this stuff probably don't want to have your name on it because it's fucking everything's a liability. Like it's the gold rush. People I don't know. People are going to come up with reasons to find people accountable. If Bitcoin's all of a sudden fucking skyrockets for some reason, and then there's like Bitcoin's dice and fucking Bitcoin's gambling websites or whatever, and whatever happens next, I don't know. But like first, I don't want to be the ringleader. I'd like to back out. I'd like to back out, please. Thank you. I have my thank you for the XCP, everybody. It's been a lot of fun. All the technology is available. If you want, here's the website on the GitHub, and you can keep it up yourself. I don't want to be tied to this anymore. Have fun. And then exit scam. That's in my opinion, that would be the smartest way to deal with. And just make sure before you leave, before you take the website down, you just replace the top part with penis. You just take all the information out and just put a nice little penis in there, and that's it. So when people go to your website, they know it's over now. That would be my opinion. But I mean, whatever. That's not how people want to do things, and that's fine. Maybe it's better that there's actual accountability. I don't know. If you want to be known for doing it, and maybe that's something. I mean, it's not something to just, it's very hard work. I'm not trying to take the work away from you. The idea itself isn't the most intriguing to me, but I'm not saying it's not difficult work, or is it hard to accomplish and to make it work correctly. Like, it's a very interesting idea that is, well, whatever. It's an idea that's executed very, very well. It is an idea and it is executed. Whether or not humanity has a necessity for it only can be determined by the market, apparently. So let it go, baby. I don't know. that being said, that's not just Bitcoin's uniquely. I'm saying about all these projects, augmenters, Archetype, whatever. But backtracking once again, I don't want to be hypocritical. Like I've definitely, not saying that my advice has been taken seriously, but I've given advice to projects now at this point. I've told the people at Bitcoins that what I think. That's advice. Am I advising? I guess technically. Am I going to be given an advisor credit? Hopefully not. But what else? There was like one other thing I wanted to say. That might be it. It was really just an apology to Chris. Like, I understand where he's coming from. I'm not happy that there is people there who don't understand what Archetype was. Chris has generally a newer community to Bitcoin, and he's very inviting of those people. And for him to kind of be putting Archetype on that type of platform, Archetype on that type of platform, to me was dangerous. That was my main concern, I think. Well, I mean, not that I think that's really what it was. Whether or not all the other stuff is true, or whether or not he did the right job as far as he should have shit on Archetype more, I don't know. I don't know if I can really say that. That's not really correct. So I apologize. And I think that's it. I feel like there was something else here, but like I said, I don't write anything down before I do this stuff, and it's detrimental to the quality of the podcast. But I do appreciate you guys listening and bearing through this whole thing. Hopefully it was entertaining. Sorry, Chris. Appreciate your content. Still float around the briar patch. I haven't been saying as much, although lately I've been kind of talking a bit again. I've been enjoying the sulking of the community, so I like it. I like it so much. It's so fun, okay? I like it. Everybody else, thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate it. I'll be around again soon. And that's it. Bye-bye, everybody. Love you guys.